All right, see if this works. I don't know if the audio or the video is going to come through, but this is the automated chicken farm. So we're going to start at the very bottom. This is where our sort of final cooked chicken is going to end up. We're going to put the hopper that goes in there, and we are going to put the smoker and the lever. This allows you to go ahead and toggle whether or not basically you're going to pull the chicken directly out of the smoker so that you can get any XP that is left behind. All right, now we're going to go ahead and start to list some other stuff here. We're going to build the rest of this section. So essentially what we're starting with here is the item sorter. And so let's actually come back to this one later. And this one here, okay. So the item sorter is just mostly a classic item sorter. It's got sort of a 3x3 row of hoppers, and there's some things that we're going to put in the hoppers, which is going to make the item sorter work. But for now, we are going to create those items, or create the whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Put this little bit of wool right here just so that I can get this dropper and put the dropper right there. And the reason is that the hoppers need to have something to go into. So this one goes into that. Let's see, this one goes into that. That's going to be the feather chest, and this one goes in here. Okay. Now, next up is the actual redstone that powers the item sorter. So before we can put this next row on, we got to do that one. So we're going to do that. So we're going to do these three here. Actually, we can just do boom, boom. And like so. And we're going to put this row here. And 1, 2, 3. Before we put the back one in, I'm going to put these, whatever these are called, repeaters. Thank you very much. And then we're going to put the back row here. Now this is wool because wool is easy to move around, but you can use any material. Okay, we're going to put redstone here across all of them. And, oh, we almost missed this. We need redstone torches underneath here. Okay. And then we need these comparators. Now, these seem counterintuitive to how I usually think of them. I always think that if you're going to face it, then it's going to be the other way around anyways. So you have to go from this side in order to place them going in the right direction. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and that's it, right? That's it for the actual item sorter. They're really actually super straightforward. Now we need the, whatever these are called, the hoppers. And you actually want to, see how the little black line, you actually want the hopper to go facing the comparator. So we're going to hold shift and put there, there, and there. The last piece of that is actually putting some items inside of those. We'll get to that kind of towards the end. And then the very top layer, I'm going to do a temporary block here. And then we're going to put that and this and that. Okay, so that is almost all of our hoppers down there taken care of. And that is our pretty much our entire item sorter system. So now let's go ahead and take care of this auto dispenser. This is actually a dropper down at the bottom here, not a dispenser. It ends up with some glass on top of it. I put glass, really it can be anything, but I use glass because that way you can see the chickens inside. We have this sort of 3x3 row of, in this case, wool right here, and then we have one here. So this structure with the one little hole underneath here is going to be what we want there. Now again, with this comparator, you got to get on this side. So it's basically the double side is what's measuring coming out of the dropper. And then redstone, redstone, redstone. And then right here is a repeater. The purpose is the repeater. So the redstone is measuring the dropper. The idea is the eggs will all go into that dropper. And the comparator measures the state of the dropper, and as soon as an egg shows up, it sends a redstone pulse all the way around and back again. And when it comes back around this side, it's going to trigger the dropper to drop the egg, which sends it up and eventually back into the kill chamber. This means that the signal can only go one way. So it can't, like, the signal's not going to go both sides and end up running into itself or causing issues. So that's why there's a repeater here. Can't speak to most of the rest of the structure. But again, relatively simple redstone, all things considered. Okay, so there's that piece of it. Let's go ahead and start working on the this, I don't know, water tower. So there's one piece of soul sand that goes right here, and that's going to create the bubble column. We're going to go ahead and put, let's see, this, make this all the way up. Bloop, bloop. And that is, how many blocks is that? So that is, oh, I need a temporary block here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of those blocks. And then on this side, there's a little fewer, because we don't need quite as many. Okay. So now we have our water, or I should say, we have our glass that frames the water. All right, now we're going to put the actual water in. So we're going to go one at a time. We need a bucket of water, where if you're doing it in the survival, you'll need a lot of buckets of water. We put them in a bucket at a time. So there's our next glass, and bucket, and glass, and bucket, glass, bucket, glass, bucket, and glass, and bucket, glass, bucket, glass. Okay, and I guess we are going to not put that one because otherwise it's going to spill all over here because this side is still open. The key with this water is it has to be source blocks. If this is falling water, like if the only source block is here and otherwise it's flowing, then the bubble column is not going to work the way that it's supposed to. Okie dokes. So before we move on with the rest of it, we have to finish where the chickens are going to go. So we're going to we need some more water there, but before we do that, we are going to place some glass here. And we'll go ahead and just put a temporary block there and there. Okay, so that's where our chickens are eventually going to go. Let's put these in. So this is where our actual dispenser goes. Have to put it facing the right way. There we go. So there's our dispenser. And we'll go ahead and put a couple more hoppers right here. I think those are the last of our hoppers. All right, and then we need our water. This is where the chickens are going to sit. The water is what enables the chickens to kind of bounce up and down a little bit, and it's what makes sure, let's see, time, set, day, and game rule, do, what was it, advanced time, that's what it's called now, false, okay, sorry about that. So the water is what allows the babies to survive and the adults to be killed off. Okay, before we move on any further, actually, yeah, we can do that. Let's do this, and then we have our fence post. Come on, fence post. Could be any type of fence post. I don't want glass. I want fence post. All right. Just grab an oak fence post. Bloop. That goes there. And then the glass goes there. And then we have glass on top. Okay. So now the chicken sort of enclosure is fully enclosed. All right. Let's go ahead and do another of these sort of redstone things. This is what triggers the dispenser this time instead of a dropper, but same basic design. So we want a comparator right here, and this guy goes here, 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 and in this little nook around here. So not too bad. Okay, and then we're almost done. Put the glass at the top here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, that's all enclosed. And we're going to put the glass here, here, here. And we'll go ahead and do a little temporary block there so we can cap off the end. All right, and then now we can put in our final bucket of water, which goes on the end here. Okay, and then we're going to close it all up nice and tight. Bloop. Okay, so now the actual building block pieces are done. What's left is to fill in the sort of filtering system, so the item sorter. So the way this works is that when you get a certain number of when you get a certain number of items in each of these hoppers, then it locks, well, when you get a first item in the hopper, it locks up, and then when you get a certain higher number, it releases. And so what that means is that we're going to fill up most of the hopper with items that aren't going to be in the system. So in this case, I'm using birch logs. Previously, I have used just sandstone, but you want to fill up the right 4 of these with this thing that will never actually be in here, because the idea is we don't want to ever increase the size of those stacks. So fill that up. Okay, then what we do is we're going to fill in the rest of it with the things we actually want. So there's going to be eggs, there's going to be feathers, and the last one is going to be chicken. Okay, so in the right hand side we're going to put the egg, and this one here we're going to put the feathers, and then in this one here we're going to go ahead and put the raw chicken. What that does is it means that, so the chickens are going to die. These chickens don't actually exist. The chickens are going to die by item crushing. They're going to also lay eggs. So we're going to get eggs and raw chicken and feathers. They're going to go into this hopper here. They're going to go down if they can. The hopper logic is that they always go down if possible. The only thing that can go in here is eggs. So any eggs that come through are going to go down here, and they're going to go down again. They eventually go into the dropper. The fact that something is in the dropper triggers this redstone circuit, which drops it in the bubble column. It comes all the way up here, back down, goes into the dispenser, same thing, boom, triggers the circuit. The dispenser dispenses the egg into the chamber, and sometimes then we'll get a chicken. And then your feathers go here, which again goes straight down and ends up in the feather chest, which is this one right there. And then the chicken is going to go to the very last one and fall down here. I forgot we also need some fuel, so we're going to do coal blocks because I'm feeling fancy. You can obviously put anything in here, and you can set up some other system to automatically refill it, because if you're going to establish this as an AFK, then you want to do that. Okay, so how's it work? So you do need to start with some eggs. So I'm actually going to go into the schematics here, and I'm going to turn the placement off so our mystery chickens are gone. But then what you want to do is you got to preload the system with as many eggs as you can. All right, get how many stacks of eggs here? You can get 9 stacks of eggs in a hopper, right? Or a dispenser. So we'll do that. Here we go. I mean, however many that you have in your world is good enough. All right, so you can see it in action already. So here's our little circuit, boom, boom, boom. It's triggering and it's shooting out these eggs. We've gotten 2 chickens already, and we're going to continue to get more chickens. So this system doesn't rely on actually like breeding the chickens. I don't need any, seeds or anything like that. The chickens don't need to be accessible. All we're really doing here is just using the eggs to hatch more chickens. Now, those chickens are going to grow up, so let's do the tick. Let's see, rate like 1,000. All right, so these guys will grow up pretty soon here. Once they grow up, they'll start laying eggs, and those eggs will go through the item sorter. Now, the first few eggs are not going to do anything. They're not going to unlock the item sorter. It takes a certain number before this minimum is met. With eggs, because they only come in stacks of 16, that number is, I don't know, 11 or something maybe, 10 or 11. All right, that guy escaped. I don't know how that happened, but these guys are here. So we've got a bunch of adult chickens. They're so loud. That's the other thing. You do not want to be weather clear. You do not want to be near this if you can help it. So if you're going to build it in your base or at spawn or something like that, build it far enough underground that you're not going to hear it all the time. But what you can see is that as they're laying eggs, they are finally, looks like, going through the system. Yeah, so 10 is what's going to happen. As soon as the 11th egg pops through here, that unlocks the circuit, which allows the egg to move down in the system, and then it keeps cycling through. Now, as these chickens grow up, you're going to start to run into the item cramming, and that's when they're going to start to die. And that's when you get the feathers, and that's when you get the raw chicken. You can see the chickens were hurting already. So the combination of the water and the fence post above is what allows the babies to survive and the adults not to. So we're already starting to get there. We've got 3 raw chicken. We've got 2 feathers. You can see that, yep, there goes another one. So now we're up to 4 raw chicken. Let's see. Rate 10,000. There we go. This should go fast. And that's when then you guys can start to see this actually working the way it is supposed to. Still doesn't seem fast enough though, does it? Well, in any case, I hope that you guys believe that that is how that works, but this is the tutorial for the automatic chicken machine. If you build this at spawn, it'll just run forever. If you build it not at spawn, then it's only, of course, going to run when the chunk is loaded. You can build a chunk loader to keep it loaded. But that is how you put this guy together. Really not as bad as it seems. You also, by the way, don't need this here, so if you want, you can get rid of that. But yeah, overall pretty compact, I think, for what it is. So let's see, we got up to 18. It'll get up to 41. So stuff that stacks in 64 will get up to 41. Stuff like eggs that will only get up to 10. So, all right, cool. Thanks, everybody.